The Suicide Squad refers to a team of anti-heroes from the DC Comics universe that first appeared back in 1959. However, the version we are most familiar with debuted in 1987, receiving its own comic. Since then, it has been a staple in DC Comics thanks to its unique premise of anti-heroes and villains being forced to undertake dangerous missions. In the past 10 years, DC has spent a lot of money trying to create different adaptations of the franchise and investing insane amounts in advertising. This has been sometimes successful, like the 2 movies which were insanely profitable even if they weren't that well received, or just outright failures like the Kill the Justice League game, which lost over $200 million as no one even heard of it before it was released. However, exactly 6 months ago, DC announced a new type of medium into which they want to adapt their franchise: an anime. However, it obviously wouldn't be fair if it played out in the normal world, so they took one of the most overused tropes called Isekai and mashed the two together. For those who watch it because it's Suicide Squad and have no idea what an Isekai is, it basically means another world. However, in the past 10 years, it has turned into a genre set in a world that looks like 15th century Europe, with magic, weird creatures, and an annoying king who summons you and forces you to help them. Now, putting these two together is weird but genius at the same time. It works decently well. It's a setting people are familiar with and it looks really good. However, there is just one big question I can't help but ask. Will this be just another half-assed adaptation that everyone will forget after it ends? Or we will actually get something good? It starts out in a familiar fashion with Joker and Harley Quinn doing their usual antics until they get attacked and are forced to separate. Harley unfortunately runs into Katana, who defeats her and sends her to jail. Meanwhile, as usual, Amanda Waller creates a portal to another world and sends a group of criminals on a mission to the other world. Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Peacemaker, Clayface, and King Shark. However, as they arrive, their helicopter gets attacked, killing both pilots and their supervisor. Now they are stuck in an unknown world without knowing what they are even supposed to do, and with a bomb implanted in their necks that will explode in 72 hours. The story overall is really simple, and that's kind of the point. The charm of the show is that it introduces something familiar while adding new elements. If you are an anime fan, you know exactly how an isekai works and already have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen. But you might not know who the Suicide Squad is. Maybe you heard of Harley Quinn, but you have no idea who the others are, and this is a good way to get introduced to them. By the way, that fan I'm describing is me. I honestly have no idea who any of these characters are. I was either not alive to get into it, or I was just watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Man, that episode actually made me cry. Getting back to it, this obviously works vice versa too. There are probably a lot of people watching who have never seen an anime before, and this is a good way to get into it. Now, even if you haven't seen Suicide Squad, the main appeal is going to be the characters. Even though I don't know how they are supposed to act, they are super fun to watch. Harley Quinn is this really whimsical and energetic character who thrives in chaos. You know, she's not mentally stable, but trust me, I can fix her. Deadshot is also hilarious. I absolutely love this scene where he's talking about how he saved Ratcatcher. Peacemaker provides a good contrast as he's instantly seen as a much calmer, more mature and calculated character. Clayface is probably the most normal character out of them all, I guess if dressing as Michael Jackson is considered normal. I really love his enthusiasm on knowing what an isekai is and what is supposed to happen. And then at the end we have King Shark, who is just kind of chill. He's just there, sometimes sleeping, sometimes eating. All the characters are really fun and they have a dynamic that I enjoy. But there is one thing I absolutely hated. The thing they say sometimes. Why are there so many pop culture references? Why is she suddenly talking about Game of Thrones? Sometimes it really feels like certain references were thrown in by DC just for the sake of relatability. It's really out of place sometimes. Who wrote this, man? Oh, what? These two men are Nagatsuki Tappei and Umehara Eiji, two highly successful writers who collaborated on YV, which was fairly successful, and also on a small story called ReZero, one of the most well-known isekai series, specifically renowned for its well-written story. Given their track record, You would expect something groundbreaking when it comes to storytelling. Now, one of the biggest points of discussion about the anime right now is the writing. People enjoy the setting, the animation and the cool fight scenes, but they find the writing underwhelming, which is something I can somewhat agree with. There are parts that feel out of place, especially the pop culture references, and there is the problem that we still have no clear idea of the story's end goal, even though we are already a third way of the way through. However, I feel like there is not much that can be done with the story, since the focus is always on the characters and their actions. Everything is established from the start. We know what the world is like, we know who the characters are, and the writers are not allowed to expand on that at all, which probably made it challenging to write something unique. Despite all of that, I disagree with the notion that it is badly written. I think it simply focuses more on comedy, character dynamics and action, which is all you want sometimes. Not everything has to be unique as long as it's enjoyable, and this anime does a pretty good job with that. Production-wise, it's also pretty well done. It's animated by Wit Studio, one of the most established studios in the anime industry with works like Attack on Titan and Spy Family. The animation is super crisp, the characters are constantly moving, and the backgrounds are well detailed. It has a lot of fight scenes that are not insanely dynamic, but I really like the simplicity of them. The character designs are gorgeous when it comes to the main cast, especially for my girl. However, I'm not a fan of the way they done the side characters too. Something just feels kind of off about them. The music is done by Suehiro Kenichiro, who has some of the most beloved soundtracks, so you can't really go wrong with him. The anime is also stacked with some really good voice actors. Harley Quinn sounds absolutely amazing, and it's voiced by someone 2 years younger than me, which hurts a lot. We also have the voice actor of Dio, who stands out so much, you just hear him no matter what. Not to mention Clayface as Lelouch and King Shark as Todo. Overall, it's a pretty simple anime that you watch when you want to turn off your brain a little bit. I personally enjoyed it a lot more than I expected, especially considering all the backlash around it. I genuinely thought it was going to be something super underwhelming, but it's actually super fun to watch. I recommend everyone watch a few episodes to make their own conclusion about it. If you don't like the characters or the setting, you are not going to change your mind about it. But otherwise, I think most people will have a fun time with it. However, if you want to see another anime that I really enjoyed from the previous season that is also an isekai, click here. Thanks for watching, goodbye.